Just a few months back, Ousmane Dembélé was arguably the most hated man in Barcelona.
Look at him smiling, he's enjoyed it. He knows he can go back to France and be a hero, though, the way that he's played over the two legs. They might tend to disagree.
After Barcelona had openly shown faith in him, he stabbed the club in the back and joined PSG in the summer of 2023. And this still didn't tell the full story. Constant injury problems, inconsistent form, a contract problem with the club that was so bad it turned ugly.
I'm sorry, with all due respect, with all the quality that he has, I will have so many question marks that I will wonder before signing him.
The ability that made Ousmane Dembélé Barcelona's €135 million signing years back seemed to have disappeared, until he somehow got it back. From questions about his ability to stay fit, to becoming the player with the most goals in Europe since the start of the new year, this is a story of how Ousmane Dembélé rescued his career. He might have been memed a lot.
Vous êtes droitier ou gaucher?
Gaucher.
Sûr, parce que vous marquez aussi le droit.
Ouais, je suis plus gaucher.
Et les pénaltys, vous les tirez pas du droit?
Si.
Pourquoi?
Parce que je tire mieux du droit.
But before Barcelona, before all the hate, Ousmane Dembélé had an even bigger potential ceiling than Kylian Mbappe. After making his debut for Rennes in Ligue in the 2015-16 season, Dembélé quickly became one of the most exciting young talents, not just in France, but in the world. A hat-trick versus Nantes in his debut season, big goals in the league, 12 goals and 5 assists in 26 Ligue 1 games as an 18-year-old, named the Ligue 1 Young Player of the Year that same season. And at this point, the big clubs around Europe had sent scouts to watch Dembélé and size up a potential move. But in the summer of 2016, Dembélé made the bold decision at 18 years old to leave his comfort zone, his home, to another country and the next step in his journey. Borussia Dortmund, and under Thomas Tuchel, it was easy to see why Dembélé made the move. Dortmund has a history of building young talent, and a player like Dembélé fit into that description, but it was always going to be down to how fast he could hit the ground running, and he wasted no time in settling down. 10 goals and 20 assists in 49 games for Dortmund that season, including scoring in the DFB Pokal final win, the Bundesliga Rookie of the Season, and made the Team of the Season. The point is, Ousmane Dembélé's ceiling at this point was so high. It was always going to take something crazy to price him out of Dortmund, and that's exactly what Barcelona did. €135 million total package. That's the amount it cost Barcelona to get Dembélé, immediately making him the fourth most expensive football transfer of all time and the most expensive teenager in the game before Mbappe broke the record a year later. And at the time, to Barcelona fans, Dembélé was special. Despite his failed attempts at kick-ups during his presentation, Barcelona still had a lot of expectations for Dembélé, particularly because of what they thought he could be. The next Neymar. After losing to the Brazilian to PSG that summer, signing Dembélé seemed like the perfect deal. A young kid with crazy potential who could grow at the club and become even better than Neymar was. But only a few weeks into life at Barcelona, the world witnessed the start of a problem that would define his career at Barcelona. Injuries. He missed 4 months of the season with a hamstring injury, returned, and then got injured again just 2 weeks later. It didn't get better, and that's when things got confusing. On one hand, 3 goals in 17 in his debut campaign for Barcelona seemed bad, but somehow he was fit enough to play for France at the World Cup and become a part of the team that won it. But the injuries persisted, and by 2022 it was alarming. Dembélé had missed a total of 102 games due to injury in 4 years. For a player who costs the club that much in terms of a transfer fee, you'd have been expecting the fans to turn on him, or even the club to attempt to sell him. But the thing is, despite all of this, Barcelona still had faith in Dembélé. The idea was that if they could get Dembélé to become comfortable at Barcelona, there was still a player who they believed could become the best in the world. The numbers don't lie either. Toward the end of the 2021-22 season, for example, Dembélé hit the type of form that put him on the world map with Barcelona. Midway through that season, he'd already completed 21 successful dribbles, which was more than any Barcelona player at the time, averaging a goal contribution every 108 minutes, and ended up as the player with the most assists in the Liga that season. But around the same time, the other issues with Dembélé kicked off, with Dembélé, and this one had him fighting with the people that had done so much to protect him. The injuries were one thing, but now Dembele was battling a contract issue that was affecting his attitude.
The big story from Barcelona continues to be the attitude of Dembele. He said we saw Luis Suarez speaking out just a couple of days ago saying, look, it's a privilege to be a footballer, he needs to realise that.
It became so bad that even Luis Suarez, his former teammate, was calling him out about it and reminding him of the club he played for, Barcelona. And under Xavi, the issues intensified.
Li vaig ser molt honest, ell va dir que sempre volia quedar-se al Barça, però clar, no renovava, i jo pensava, bueno, aquest haurà firmat per un altre equip, no?
The club had made it clear. Xavi told Dembele that they didn't think it was best for him to play for the team until he'd committed to the club, because they believed he'd gotten an agreement with another team outside. Even the president got involved.
Reporter said on Dembele then, we presented 2 good offers for him for this remaining 6 months. He didn't want to accept, and we were surprised that he didn't accept the last one with an English team. He's decided to stay here. It makes no sense. It is bad for him or bad for the club.
And Dembele had an ultimatum, and although he eventually did sign a 2-year contract deal later on in 2022, at the end of the 2022-23 season, Dembele fully broke Barcelona's hearts. Moving to PSG was the final straw. See guys, following all we've said so far, Dembele's time at Barcelona was full of constant controversies. Struggling for form, and even when he was fit, it became a question of just how long he could play before he got injured again.
You cannot rely upon a guy that hasn't proven to you that he's going to be available. Never mind productive, available first. He has not been available to you, and so therefore I would not wrap my arms around Ousmane Dembélé if I were a manager and say, man, you are going to be so special for us.
A question of if Xavi could trust Dembele. And now, Dembele moving to PSG after everything the club had done for him? That was wild. They called him names and labelled him a snake, a traitor, lazy, indisciplined and unprofessional. They weren't without cause too. 14 muscle injuries at Barcelona in total, 784 days out injured. Concerns over his discipline and unprofessionalism led to the club to assign private chefs to him, and the late nights he spent addicted to video games? It made Dembele the most fined Barcelona player in recent years. With all of this in mind, Dembele knew moving back to France, he had his career in the balance. When asked what made him make the switch to Paris, Dembele's answer was simple, but also revealed a lot.
Le discours du coach, pour moi, avoir la confiance du coach, c'est primordial pour un joueur de foot. Et aussi le directeur sportif et le président, j'ai parlé avec eux, ils m'ont expliqué le projet du Paris Saint-Germain et puis ça m'a plu.
The confidence of the coach, the sporting director, and the project. You see, at PSG, Luis Enrique and the team had been on a mission to rebuild the club. From the superstar signings of Neymar, Messi and Sergio Ramos all those years back, they were now prioritising younger talent, or in Dembele's case, players who they believed still had untapped potential they could utilise. Still, the doubts about Dembele continued because many believed even at PSG that he'd struggle with fitness issues and game time. They were wrong. See guys, unknown to many, Dembele arrived in Paris as a man on the verge of changing his reputation. You could term this as the moment he grew up. His surprise marriage without almost none of his teammates knowing. It turned Dembele from a boy wonder into a man. But if we replay this clip again...
Un match de Ligue des Champions contre Malmö. Et oui, en tant que Français, je viens d'Evreux, pas loin de Paris.
Dembele talks about home, France, Paris, a somewhat familiar setting, a place he knew he could thrive and rebuild, and in his first year he did. On paper, he only managed 6 goals and 14 assists in the 2023-24 season, but his impact was more. Dembele was one of PSG's most important players last season. He led the team for progressive carries, passes into the penalty area and goal-creating actions, despite playing fewer minutes, and this was all part of the plan. You see, at PSG, Luis Enrique realised the issue with Dembele. To get the best out of him, he had to utilise him, and so managing his game time became key. Dembele played 42 times for PSG that season, the most amount of games he'd played in a season since the 2020-21 campaign. But the thing with this is, in Ligue, for example, Dembele only completed the full 90 minutes 4 times all season. Luis Enrique didn't want to take the risk of overplaying Dembele and repeating the same injury issues at Barcelona. And it worked too, because the most injured Dembele was that season was suffering from a punctured eardrum. Now his fitness issues seem to have been solved. The other aspect was getting Dembele to perform on the pitch, which brings us to the current season. Ousmane Dembélé in 2024-25?
But lately, he's one of the best players in the world because every time he touches the ball, something happens. And today, he scored 3 goals. He could have scored more. He was there. He was defending. He was everywhere on the field.
It's like every time he touches the ball, magic happens. But it didn't just happen overnight, because actually, his transformation this season is down to 2 things.
Player Mbappe, who is fulfilling his dream today. Let's welcome Kylian Mbappe.
Kylian Mbappe leaving.
Luis, after the game we all watched out there, how did you end up with a defeat?
And Luis Enrique again. The thing is, with Mbappe going to Real Madrid, Luis Enrique was forced to rethink his tactics. That front 3 of Mbappe, Messi and Neymar, that many believe would dominate for years, was now a chapter finally closed at PSG. And instead of spending big to find replacements, in keeping up with the theme of the rebuild project, Luis Enrique found a clever solution midway through the start of the season.
How has he taken the news?
No tengo nada que añadir a mis contestaciones anteriores. Ya tenéis bastante para desarrollar.
Bench Ousmane Dembélé. Dembele and Enrique had a rift over Dembele's lack of respect. But what happened was, at that moment, Luis Enrique had put together the final piece he needed for Dembele to toughen up. Dembele did return to the starting 11, and since that point on, he's been unstoppable. From a tactical standpoint, it's genius. What Luis Enrique has done is emphasized flexibility in his frontline positions this season, meaning instead of playing with a central or traditional striker, he's gone with Dembele. It's brilliant, really. Dembele's 2-footed, as we know, comfortable on either foot, and getting into positions much closer to the goal allows Dembele to get more shot-contributing actions, and he's scoring regularly too. He's scoring at an insane rate. As of recording this, he's clear of his former teammate Mbappe with the most goals in 2025 in the European top 5 leagues with 24. That's 4 times more in 4 months than the total amount of goals he had from the previous 2023-24 campaign. The tactical shift at PSG also allows Dembele to easily interchange with the front 3, and that means he can pick up positions anywhere at will, and it's all been to devastating effect. And then there's the mental aspect. It's easy to forget that with all that's been said, Ousmane Dembele is still only 27, an age many believe most footballers enter into their prime years of their careers. He's still relatively young, but in that PSG team, he's become a leader. The project in Paris is now built around a young core, players like Desiré Doué, William Pacho, Kvicha Kvaratskhelia, Bradley Barcola, João Neves, Vitinha and Nuno Mendes. All the names I just mentioned aren't up to Dembele in terms of age. Only captain Marquinhos, Lucas Hernandez, Presnel Kimpembe and Fabian Ruiz are older than Dembele at 27. He's the 5th oldest member of the squad, and with the career he's had, it's made Dembele one of the senior figures in the locker room. Dembele's rise to the top, his 2.0, it's amazing. From the doubts of his Barcelona days, under Luis Enrique and with PSG, he's rewriting his story. If the season ended right now, he'd be able to stake a place for football's biggest prize, the Ballon d'Or. That's how good he's been. And is continuing to lead the charge for PSG in trying to win the big one, the Champions League. What do you guys think about Ousmane Dembele though? Is he still a snake for all he did to Barcelona? Is he overhyped at PSG? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button to Matchday Moments.